would just be, what are some key factors that brought you to where you are today, and just like some advice for us?
So, so that's a great question, and I'm going to answer it, and not in a biased way. But I played football all my life. I was lucky enough to go to school on an education, to get an education on an athletic scholarship. But through my whole life, football taught me many valuable lessons that I learned on the field and through my coaches. It taught me discipline. It taught me passion. It taught me how to be relentless. But you can get that anyway. You can get that if you were in the band. You could get that if you were in, some kind of a club in school. It doesn't necessarily have to be sports. It could be music, chorus. It could be any of those passions that you have, because each one of those creates discipline. And I would have to tell you that some of the great attributes that I enjoy in my life are the lessons I've learned from not only my football coaches, but certainly my mother and father. You're going to learn a lot of lessons in life. And I would have to tell you, the biggest lesson that I want you to learn or to think about is the art of listening. You see, there's a lot of people that come up through the system that they go to great prestigious schools. And I was blessed. I went to Northeastern, Zev School, and then I went on to MIT, and I was around some really brilliant people in my life. And I spent my time listening to them. Even when I'm at work every single day, no matter who it is, I'm listening to what they have to say. And as I said earlier on the phone to Zev, what you want to do in life every single day is you want to walk away with a nugget of knowledge, and you want to put it in your pocket. Because someday you're going to pull out that nugget and you're going to say, I remember when I was in Coach Young's class, and I remember when he talked about taking responsibility and showing gratitude. And this is the right opportunity to place that nugget of knowledge in play. So I was blessed on how I started. They taught me some great life lessons. And with that, I try to learn every single day by listening. Listen as much as you can. Concentrate on it. Concentrate. I tell people all the time, when I went to school, fortunately, I sat in the front of the class. And, just when I got my master's at MIT not too long ago, and when people asked me, why do you sit in the front of the class? And it wasn't to brown nose. It wasn't to make the teacher feel great. It wasn't any of those things. I wanted to just focus on exactly what he or she was saying. And I used to make a joke out of it. Isaiah, I want to see the words come out of your mouth, like the cartoons with the bubble over your head. I'm going to focus so much, dial it down so much in everything that you're saying. I'm literally going to see the words come out of your mouth, because as they come out of your mouth, they're going to become tacit to me, right? They're going to become a part of me. And if you have some knowledge, that knowledge is going to get transferred to me.
Thank you.
Lexi's the commercial real estate developer.
Yes. So I'm Lexi. I'm a junior. I'm a marketing major. And honestly, I was just wondering what your typical sales day looks like, just like from start to finish.
So you never know where the path that you're on, Lexi, where it's going to lead you. And the reason I say that is because when I was at Northeastern University, I wanted to be an entrepreneur so bad. And I didn't know how to set about that. So I was lucky enough to have professors like Zev. And I went to them my sophomore and junior year, and I talked about being an entrepreneur, and they gave me some ideas to follow, and they challenged me. So I went back to those professors, and I told them that, maybe the idea is to go into the food business, because I wanted to go into the real estate business. And they said, well, why would you want to go into the food business to go into the real estate business? Because when you're 22 years old, it's next to impossible to buy real estate, certainly in this country, because when you walk into a lender's office, he's going to say to you, Lexi, why don't you come back, when you're more established, you have a couple more pieces of real estate. But I wanted to use pizza, and I didn't know anything about pizza, and I want everyone to understand that. When I chose pizza, it could have been anything. It could have been sandwiches. It could have been the restaurant business. It could have been fish or chicken or whatever it was. Pizza just happened to be the number one food in the entire world at the time. And I really felt that I could produce a product at a very low margin and be able to sell it. But what was so secretive about it, and what I really enjoyed, was you need a location to put the pizza place in. And maybe someday a bank would look favorable about being owner occupied. So the object was, and the focus was, to try to create a pizza concept, and not just a regular pizza place, something that I could create a classic hub and spoke model, create this concept. And as I grew, I would buy the locations and put my pizza stores in. That would help me launch my real estate business. You know, so the path that I talk about in the beginning, you know, first people looked at Sal's Pizza as just what it was. You know, someone that graduated. By the way, I was, you know, I was blessed. I never worked for anyone else. I signed my lease 6 months before I graduated college. 6 months after I graduated Northeast, and my diploma was hanging over an oven. And I had worked in the North End as an apprentice for a period of time. But I had no background, no business that I bought, no grandma's recipe. It was just from scratch. But the idea was to purchase real estate. What was I going to use to purchase real estate? And then, you know, as a result of purchasing these small locations, you know, typical 2,000 or 1,500 square foot locations, I started realizing that instead of buying 1,500, why don't I buy 3,000 and then rent half? And then why don't I buy 6,000 and 10 and 24 and 60,000? And today we're proud to tell you that our organization, the team that we have at Lupoli Companies, is almost 1,000 employees. We have over 5 million square feet of real estate. We're the 5th largest developer in the entire state of Massachusetts. But we're also proud of the roots that we came from, right? Because you never forget the girl that took you to the prom. You never forget your family and friends, the people that helped you start. You know, you have to rely upon certain words of integrity and loyalty and honesty. And the reason I say that is because we could have sold our pizza business a long time ago. But that pizza business today supports about 600 employees. And some of those employees go back 30 years. And the number of stores we have today, I don't know, maybe we have 40 or 50 stores and different locations and different events and different arenas and things like that. But Lexi, you never know the path or the journey you're on. You start down one journey, and if you keep your eyes open, you're able to pivot when the opportunity approaches you. You know, I always tell my son and my daughter, both my son Sal Jr. is a sophomore at Bentley University. My daughter Mary is getting her MBA at BC, and she is also a graduate of Bentley University. And I always tell my children one thing, and I coached football for 17 years. You know, I tell my children, I tell my football players, I tell my employees, will you be ready when your number is called? Will you be ready when the opportunity is presented upon you? And I think that's one thing that I'd like to just let people understand. You know, by being organized, by being ready when your number is called and when the opportunity approaches you, you'll be able to say, okay, at 22 years old, I'll be able to enter this business because I have an approach. I have a plan. And then that plan that you entered, you know, selling pizzas in 700 square feet. I mean, Zeb, this is the real story. I sold my car to open the first store. You know, I come from a big family like Isaiah has, you know, 6 boys in our family. We lived in 900 square feet in East Boston when I was born. So, you know, the path that you're on, you know, I just want you to understand, you know, especially the fact that you love real estate so much. I want you to understand you're not, I don't want you to be closed-minded. I want you to realize, you know, with this dream that you have of being in the real estate business, Lexi, you know, you never know where the path is going to take you. Be prepared to pivot when the opportunity comes. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kaylin. I'm a senior and I'm a marketing major. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the revolving test kitchen. I read a little bit about it like prior to class, and recently this year I did a lot of research on like rental commercial kitchens because unfortunately my family's butcher shop closed down this year, and so I've been looking into a lot of those. But this like revolving test kitchen like kind of brings a whole different opportunity to a lot of people, and I was wondering if you could kind of talk about your experience, the inspiration, and like how it came to be.
You know, that's a great question, Kaylin. You know, I remember reading your bio, and I saw the fact that you had a butcher and you you were in the meat market business, and I'm jealous because I think you have a great grandma, you know, and that's a beautiful thing. And certainly the fact that you were able to be in Florence, Italy, and one of my near and dear parts of the world that I really enjoyed. But I'll tell you what, you know, it's a great segue into why I did the revolving test kitchen. Let me explain what the revolving test kitchen is. In life, I promise you, your greatest gift, your greatest enjoyment, your greatest satisfaction will be doing something for someone that didn't even ask you to do them a favor, or doing something for someone when you can't afford to do that for a person. You know, when entrepreneurs first start, they're scrappy, right? We all bootstrap it, you know, most of all entrepreneurs. You bootstrap and you got this great idea. Well, when I first started, no one was able to, you know, support us, so to speak, or support me. You know, as I told you, my dad was, my mother, they took a third mortgage out on the house. I sold my car. I paid 17% interest on equipment, you know, and every time I turned around, there was just walls in front of me. And I remember that feeling. And as I started to get older in life, and as I started to understand, you know, the ability to give when you can't give. And what do I mean by that, Kaylin? I think it's simple at this point. You know, when you have money or you have assets and you write a check, that's super important to the organization you're doing it for. And it's really a great thing you're doing, and you should continue to do that. But I'm going to let you in on a secret. When you can't afford to do something and somebody asks you for something and you look at them and you say, I can't do it. The money's not there. Or, I can't make that happen. Or, you're asking too much of me, or it's just not going to happen. I can't make that magic happen for you. And then you close your eyes at night and you say, well, okay, how am I going to make this happen? And then you find a way to make it happen. That will be the greatest gift of your life. When you do something when you can't afford to do it, as opposed to when you can afford it, which is great. Now, why did I tell you that story? Because the revolving test kitchen was started for entrepreneurs that have no ability to start their business. You see, when I started my business, I needed about $60,000 in 1990. When I first started my business, I needed about $60,000. I probably raised about 40 of it, and I borrowed on high interest loans that I just described you, maybe the other $10,000 or $20,000. Today, to start your own business in the food business, and I know we got a pizza guy out there. I remember seeing it in his bio somewhere, and the name will come to me in a little bit, but the revolving test kitchen was a location that I built, equipped with all state-of-the-art equipment. And then, just like you see on TV, there's a panel, and every 6 months we have a contest. And what we do, the mayor, myself, and the president of Northern Essex Community College, what we do is we give an individual that has a great business plan, that is self-motivated, we give them an opportunity to go into the revolving test kitchen, which is all the equipment you need, right down to the cash registers, right down to the walk-in coolers, everything you need to cook anything you want. And I give you my marketing team, I give you my sales team, I give you my tech team, I give you my accountants, and they support you in the idea that you had, that you always wanted to go into business with. So let's just say that, you know, Kaylin, you had a desire to go into the sandwich business, or you wanted to go into some food-related business. My team, along with the people that I just described, would allow you to go into this test kitchen, cultivate your idea at zero expense. You don't pay for the utilities. The only thing you pay for is the labor that you bring in and the food that you produce. You're allowed to keep all the profits. You don't pay any rent. You don't pay any insurance. I cover all those expenses. And at the end of the 6 months, or in some instances, 8 or 9 months, because your business is growing, we make a determination if you're ready to open your own store. If you are, we have partnered with local banks that will give you small business loans. But the only secret is this, Kaylin. I want you to open up in the poorest city in the state of Massachusetts, which is Lawrence, Mass., which is my home. where my business is, where we have our biggest opportunity that we've created. And I want you to help redevelop a community that really needs it. So if I help you, Kaylin, start your business, will you promise to open your business in the local community? And chances are you're from that local community. So when you think global and you act local, you get a different feel, right? I'm Kaylin, I have big ideas. I want to open lots of stores, but I got to start with the first store, and I got to start maybe in my hometown, and it's going to be Lawrence, Mass. And I know all the people here, and they know me, and they trust me. So the revolving test kitchen was created to give people an opportunity, because I remember when I was broke, I remember paying high interest rates. I remember saying to myself, you know, if it was a little bit more money, I would have never gotten started. And today, to open just a small location, maybe 1,500 to 2,000 square feet, you know, to do something today costs you probably $500,000 and probably take a year to get open based on permitting and zoning and things like that. So this is an idea for free that you get to try out your idea, see if you like working 60, 70 hours a week, and see if you can make it. And if you can make it, just stay local. Does that make sense? That's what the revolving test kitchen is. It was an idea that was started because I remember what it was like when I was 21 years old when I started my business. I remember what it was like when I had no money. So, you know, some people call it paying it forward. Some people describe it in other ways. I just call, I just describe it as, you know, give when you can't give. And when you can afford to give, do something on a grand scale that'll help people that don't even ask for help, that are just want an opportunity. That's what the revolving test kitchen is. And just to let you know, you want the best part of the revolving test kitchen, Kaylin? It's now on its fourth person, and 3 out of the 4 people have all small local stores in and around Lawrence. And if
I
you
read
were
about that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you were to combine the employees that they have, they probably have 40 or 50 employees working now, today. And if they're working today, that means they didn't have a job yesterday, Kaylin. And when you come from Lawrence, Massachusetts, which is the highest unemployment in the state, the lowest economy in the state, you know, when you come from a high unemployment location like Lawrence, Mass, man, it makes you feel good when people are working, right? Because in the end, that's what it's all about. He's not gonna, or she is not gonna let you stay on this earth. Remember this. And this is getting a little philosophical, and I apologize. And Zev, you can cut me out anytime you want to, but you know, he or she is not gonna let you be on this planet and take without giving something back. And giving something back doesn't necessarily mean money. Something that's even greater than money is your time, your energy, your influence, your words, your passion. Those are the things he or she looks for. And they're looking at you right now and they're saying, when the opportunity comes and I call upon you, Kaylin, are you going to help even when you don't think you can help? So those are the funny things in life that, you know, sometimes I get on a soapbox. I apologize.
Life lessons.
Hi, so my name is Chantal. I'm from Panama. I'm a senior here at Bentley and I'm a management major. So something I wanted to ask you is that I went into your website, and something that really caught my attention was that on like the main page, it said that for you, it's all about getting the right balance between listening and leading. So I was just wondering, like, what are some of the tactics or strategies that you've found that are like really helpful to find that balance?
So Chantal, that's a really great question. I am going to tell you, I am so dialed in, I am so focused. Every single day that I get up, I say to myself, who am I leading today? What lessons am I going to be able to transfer today? How are my employees going to get better? How are they going to teach me? How am I going to teach them? What lessons am I going to learn from my competitors? And it all comes back to me, it comes back to leadership. I am passionate about leadership. You know, I think you can be anything you want in your life if you make a determination, if you look yourself in the mirror, and we talked a little bit about that in class today, if you look yourself in the mirror and say you are determined to create leadership skills. Now, you don't have to necessarily be the general of the army, but you have to understand what leadership skills are. Even if you're not a leader, you have to be able to recognize them in order to be a great follower. You cannot be a great leader without being a great follower. And many times in my life right now today, I'm in several programs that my role is not necessarily to be the leader. My role is to be the follower, or to help move things along, you know, or to be the person that creates the deal, and somebody else is the leader of that deal. So I would tell you leadership, you know, I'm always going to fall back on this, Chantel. You know, I think that is, if you have leadership skills, they fall into all the categories that Zeb is talking about. They fall into great negotiating skills, great sales skills, because it's a level of confidence, right? When you're a leader, you have great confidence, and you can learn to be a great leader. You can learn to be a great leader by, you know, some people read books, some people talk to people, some people put themselves in uncomfortable situations, and they force themselves to make those kinds of decisions, or to be in that environment where they're learning every single day. You know, I'm just going to leave you with a few things. You know, when you're a great leader, you have to understand that team comes first. Team will always come first, you know. So that leadership skills and placing yourself above the team, you know, is going to help you get through life. Understanding about failures. I heard a lot about failures today, Chantel. I heard about, you know, and I can give you all those, you know, those great, you know, descriptions, or those great quotes. You know, if you're going to fail, fail fast. You know, if you're gonna fall fast. You know, if you know you never learned anything from succeeding, you learned from failure. All of those things, and if you dial it down to what resonates with you, those things are true. Those things are true, and they build great leaders. You know, you show me a person that's never failed, I'll show you a person that never tried. You know, and so some of the things that you have to do out there, and some of the things that I've done out there, is focus on leadership skills, focus on listening, focus on attitude. You know, I tell people every day, I run to work. You know, people look at me and they say, well, what do you mean? Yeah, I run to work. I work more hours now than I worked in the first 30 years, the first year of my 30 years. And I'm blessed because I run to work because I love it so much. Because I know every single day that I go into work, somebody's life is going to change for the better. And I think once you develop those attitudes and that self-confidence, you know, and the character that you have, you know, in your bio, you talk a lot about that. You talk about honesty, you talk about integrity, you talk about passion, you know. So I think you're on the way. I know you're on the way, because those qualities that you're talking about, you know, those are the qualities of greatness. Don't be good when you can be great. Be great. Does that answer your question, I hope?
Yes, it was perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
My question is about how you decide where to develop a new site and what factors go into that decision. And once you do kind of decide on a site, how do you decide what to put in those locations?
So I should say what you wrote was what you live in the moment, right? You know, I like what you said, you know, because I think more people need to do that. You know, location, you know, you'll hear three words, right? You know, and Zeb already taught you this, right? He already taught you location, location, location. And I promise you there is something to be said about that. So, you know, you always want to, you know, you want to do three things. And I learned them from Bezos. You know, Bezos had a quote. He said, I try to get as much sleep as possible. Why? Because I don't want to wake up and make poor decisions because of the lack of sleep. I always want to use data when I can. And that might be, you know, something that we're talking about right now. I want to use demographics. I want to use information. I want to use technology. I want to use data. And then the third thing he does is he trusts his gut. What's my inside? What's my belly telling me? So when I look for locations, what do? You know, the first thing I do is I try not to make hasty decisions by not being rested or not being versed or understand what the situation is. You know, I try to go in and I use as much data as I can about locations and the amount of people that are going there. And then the third thing I do is I just look at the location, and sometimes I'll sit on a park bench for hours. And please believe me, Alex, for hours I'll sit there and I'll just look at the people, I'll look at the patterns. And at the end, I'll just say, yep, this is the right location for me. Have I failed in some of those locations? Absolutely. I've opened up stores that I said, this is without a doubt, I've done all my homework, I've crossed all my T's, I've dotted my I's, I've done everything that Zeb talks about. How come the location didn't work? Because it just didn't. So what do? You find a new location, you find a new concept, you pivot quickly. When I talk about concept, we can talk a little bit more about that. But those are the things that I try to do, Alex, when it comes to finding locations. And I will tell you this, because I have such an appetite to acquire real estate, because I think the greatest wealth in the world comes from real estate. I think there's few and far between of the Zuckerbergs or the Gates, the people that create something so, life-changing, world-changing. I think those people are few and far between. I think if you were to aggregate all the people in the world that have wealth through real estate, they would be the most wealthiest people on the planet. So for me, it's real estate. And the reason I say that to you is because sometimes I'll look at real estate, and then within the real estate that I own, I'll open up a retail store, maybe a particular brand. Maybe I have to come up with a brand because of the area that demands it. So there's a couple of reasons. One of them is what I stated earlier, the three things of what I do for a location. And then the fourth is, maybe I'll purchase a piece of real estate, to build 100 or 200 or 300 apartments. And on the first floor, I'll put a retail Sal's Pizza or some other concept that I have. Does that answer your question, Alex?
Yeah, thank you.
Great question, Alex. Let's go.
And my question to you is, do you think it's better to pursue your entrepreneurial venture straight out of college, or to try and find a job and gain some money and then try and set up your entrepreneurial venture?
That's a great question, Rolly. And I looked at your bio too. You're the gentleman that wants to take engineering and combine it with a product and create some concept, correct? Yeah. So Rolly, I was blessed enough. I got the bug when I was a young man. When I was 16, 17 years old, all I did is dial down. I wanted to be in business for myself. It was a different time, a different era. Money, access to capital was just a little different. The amount of money you needed was just a little different. If not now, then when? If not you, then who? Right? And I lived by those words much of my life. So when people would come to me and they would say, inevitably, I want to be an entrepreneur, but I want to save a little bit more money. And you have to take this very careful the way I'm saying it. I want to be very respectful. I certainly don't want to put people in precarious situations. All I can tell you is what I've learned from my life lessons. And one of my life lessons was at the age of 21 years old, starting this business that I started. I said to myself, if I wait, and by the way, my father was very sick much of his life, and I supported, my dream was to support my mother and father and my 5 brothers. How do I do this? I have to go into business for myself. I was the fourth from the oldest. So, I was the first one really to go to college, get an education. If I didn't go to college, I was probably going into the union or some kind of manual labor job, which I think is super critical and super important in this world today. But, I wasn't going to be able to fall back on education because we couldn't afford that, so it was some kind of a manual job that I was going to have to do. And the reason I share that story with you is because when I was, in college and I decided to become an entrepreneur, every single day, I saw what I wanted, I believed in what I wanted, and I believed that there was no option other than becoming an entrepreneur. I didn't say, well, I want to work for a little while and then I'm going to take because you're never going to have enough money, my friend. Raleigh, you're never going to have, let me give you an example. I had an uncle, and I learned this story from my father. And please understand in the story, I like to tell stories because sometimes stories, they relate a little better. Certainly to certain age groups, they're able to look at it and say, you know, I get it, as opposed to, and as I said, I can use any word you want that I learned at MIT or Northeastern, and I graduated with honors in business. You know, you tell me the fancy phrase and I'll tell you. Sometimes they don't penetrate. Like sometimes they just, what exactly did they mean when they talk about, a particular phrase or a particular word. So I like to use things, opportunities like this to tell you stories. My father, when he was growing up, had an uncle. To me, it was a great uncle. And my great uncle looked at my father, and when my father was 21 years old, he bought himself a brand new Cadillac, and he financed it. And he had to work really hard to pay for those payments. And he worked 2 and 3 jobs back when he was a kid. And my uncle looked at my father and said, I don't want to work that hard, but I'm going to save my money. And he used to save $100 bills, and he used to put them in his wallet. And he said, when I save $6,000, I'm going to go buy a brand new Cadillac, and I'm not going to have any payments. Where you, Nick, you're always going to have a payment. And in 2 or 3 years, he got to that point where he had $6,000 or $7,000 in his wallet. And he went to the Cadillac dealership and he said, I'm ready to buy a Cadillac. And the guy said, good. And the guy said, do you know how much they are? And he said, how much? And he told my uncle they're $9,000. He said, but they were only $6,000 3 years ago. He says, I know, they went up. So my uncle went back to work and he saved his money and he saved his money and saved his money. 2 years later, he went back to the dealership. He said, I have the 9,000. He said, no, they're 12 now. And the moral of the story is this: my uncle never got a Cadillac because he spent his whole life saving, and someday he was going to buy that brand new Cadillac and have what he wanted, his dream, but he never attained it because he never stepped out and never took a chance. Whereas my father, God rest his soul, my father, when worked as hard as he could, he bought that Cadillac and he paid for that Cadillac. But every year he had a brand new Cadillac. So I don't know if that makes sense at all, but my thought process behind it is this: if you're an entrepreneur and you really want to do it, what are you waiting for? Just find a way to go do it. Tape it on your wall, what you want to become. Look at it every single day, every single hour. You wake up, you look at the message that you have for yourself, and I don't care what it is. You want to own a car dealership, you want to take engineering and you want to craft that with something else and create a fun product that some of the people that like yourself that you want to do something. Think about it, put it up on the wall, look at it every day, believe in it, see it, and then find a way to get it done. And don't take no for an answer. Don't take no for an answer. So I hope that answers your question.
It does. Thank you, Sal.
All right, Roland.
Hey Sal, how's it going? I'm Brees. I am a junior currently. I'm a professional sales major. And my question for you would be, hearing you talk about leadership earlier, what is the most important quality of a leader to you, and how does that relate to you and your business?
As you get older in life, as you become a leader, or as you follow a leader, you'll learn life lessons. You'll learn with integrity, passion, honesty. You'll be able to look your leader in the eye and you'll be able to say, that's my guy or that's my gal. That's the person I'm going to follow because you believe in them. I think so many people out there want to be leaders, but they're not willing to. And I learned this a long time ago, this phrase, and a lot of the things I say, all I did is listen to some really smart people and fall in love with them. Everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die to get there. And that means sacrifice. So great leadership comes from people that have great sacrifice. If you're truly willing to sacrifice yourself in your mind, your soul, your body, whatever it takes, and you truly want this dream that you have, which is maybe to be a leader or to be a great manager or some position, you have to understand that the people that you lead, they're going to see if you're full of it or not. They're going to see, well, wait a minute, you want me to work 80 hours a week, but yet you go home at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. You want me to do all the work, but yet I don't see you doing any of the work. Once you think you're fooling your employees or the people that you're leading, is the day where you might as well hang it up. So don't think you're fooling your employees, because you're not. Don't think you're fooling yourself by working a lot of hours if you're not. Don't think because you do a little bit of work, or you're smart enough to get 8 hours worth of work in 3. Find something to do for the other 5 hours to make you great. So, you're not going to bull your employees. They're going to see right through you. And a great leader is somebody that they're going to say, that's the guy. When you walk in a room, when 2 people walk in a room, and a guy and a girl walk in a room, and people look, and they start talking, people will say, that's the person I want to listen to, because of your confidence, because of your attitude, because of your leadership skills. And great leaders aren't just leaders that can steer the boat when the ocean is calm, right? When the ocean is like glass and you're steering, I can get a monkey to do that, to steer a boat. I want the gal or the guy that when the waves are crashing over the boat and you can't see your hand in front of your face and it's pandemonium all over the place, I want the guy, the gal that say, steady, relax, follow me. This is where we're going. So that's when you can get to that point when people are following you because they believe in you, because you don't bullshit them, then you're in good shape, my friend, if that makes sense.
It does. Thank you.
Great question for you.
Yeah, so I'm studying entrepreneurship right now. I'm a senior and I'm from Panama. And I wanted to ask you about when you started your own business. Like, what were some of the obstacles that you didn't expect going into it that you had to overcome, and how did you overcome them?
Daniels, I started just like you. You started a fish business, I think, right? The catch of the day guy?
Yeah.
That's you? Is that you?
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah. I started just like you. I started with an idea. I saw an opportunity, and I try to fill a void. When I started in the pizza business, it wasn't what it is today. I sold a 19-inch, 3-pound pizza. I cut it in quarters. That was one slice. I sold only one item, pizza and soda. Today, you walk into a store, Pizza Hut or Papagino's or Domino's, they sell multiple things. I sold one thing. I try to do it the best, at the best price, the best quality, and the biggest price and the biggest product on the market. So I try to find something that I thought attracted masses of people. I try to find something that wasn't a fad that lasted the test of time. I try to find something that I could open multiple locations. I try to find something that was that this concept or this was a path to a greater vision or a greater, means. For example, the real estate, going into the pizza business to open real estate. But, I'm always amused when people, when I was first starting out, people looked at me and they said, you're going into the pizza business? My best friends, you're going into the pizza business, Luke? What do you know about the pizza business? I said, I don't know anything about the pizza business. They said, Luke, the only business you know about the pizza business is how to eat pizza, Sal. And I started laughing. I said, you're probably right, but I'm going to learn, and I'm going to learn because I don't care if it was pizza or it was tape recorders or it was, phones or whatever it was. I'm going to find that product that somebody wants, and I'm going to make it better, because you don't have to be the guy with the, to invent the light bulb, right? You just have to be the guy that can take the light bulb, make it a little better, market it, brand it, and get it out there, and sell more than the guy that invented it. You don't have to be the inventor to come up with a great concept. So realize, try to find yourself something that you love, that you're passionate about. And I don't care if it's selling fish or selling pizza or whatever it is. I love technology, but I promise you, your business will be successful, and not as a result of technology. Okay. Your business will be successful if you're able to harness technology, understand technology, and utilize it for yourself. But it won't be this technology that I invented that's going to make me a success. Listen, if you were to make a pie, okay, the smallest slice of that pie is the idea, right? Because everybody's got an idea. So the smallest portion of that slice is the idea. And people think that's the most important thing. Oh my God, I got to come up with a great idea. That's the smallest part of success, is the idea. Because the next part of the idea is there a market for it? Geez, I can turn salt water into drinking water. Does that sound like it's a great idea? The answer is yes. If I ever could invent the ability to turn salt water into drinking water, I cure one of the biggest problems in the world, that exists, right? I can bring water to the desert. There's endless amounts of seawater. So the idea, is there a market? Yes. Of course there's a market. I have the idea, I have the market, and then can I do it? Do I have the ability or the understanding to turn this salt water? And the answer is yes, I have the patent, I'm the inventor, I know how to do it. And that's the third biggest piece of the pie. But the biggest piece of the pie will always be the team, will always be the people you put around yourself that will execute. Because without a team, all you have is an invention that can turn salt water into drinking water, and it's going to sit on a shelf. It's the team. It's the people you put around you. Those are the people that are the most important part of that circle. So whatever you're doing, put the right people around you, be the leader, put everybody on the right bus going in the right direction, and you'll be a big success in life. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and thank you so much for the advice. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure, my friend. And keep selling fish.
Thanks.
And I wanted to understand where are you witnessing sustainability as a factor in the selling of your company's services, as well as a factor in the functioning of your developed communities?
So I believe in sustainability. First of all, when you can create a company that lasts 30 years, you're a sustainable company, right? And it doesn't have to be, a particular product out there that creates sustainability that you would think about, as it revolves around energy, clean energy, or, it doesn't necessarily have to always be that. You can create a sustainable company that becomes generational. And I'm always enamored, and my dream and my hope is to create a company that's generational, that I'm able to pass on from generation to generation. And I would think that would categorize as a sustainable kind of an organization. So sustainability to me, and within my organization, and what do I do that's sustainable? I go in gateway cities, and I don't know if you're familiar with that term, but gateway cities in Massachusetts is a fancy term for economically challenged cities and towns. Now, there's only 27 of them through the entire state of Massachusetts, and there are 351 cities and towns. So, in just over 5-6% of the state, you have what's called gateway cities. Now, these gateway cities, these economically challenged cities, these are people that there's a large extent of poverty there, high unemployment, high crime, a tremendous amount of jobless individuals. So when we go into a community, we like the term social impact entrepreneurs, because we'll go into a community and revitalize it. And we'll take an abandoned building that, by the way, these buildings aren't small. These are buildings, if you stand them up, they're as tall as the Prudential building. These are buildings, if you stand them up, there's the 10th tallest building in the world. These are just massive structures that we go by, these abandoned buildings. We renovate them. We put them online very slowly, a piece at a time. And then hopefully that we create the jobs within these buildings that will live on for generations, because these small companies or this building itself is now in an economically challenged area where there's access to employees at a reasonable cost. So it's really that ecosystem that you create that creates sustainability. Sustainability doesn't not necessarily mean the product. Sustainability could be the concept. And the concept of what we do in our organization is to try to go into gateway cities, create or renovate an existing building that creates jobs, brings new companies in. When new companies come in, they hire locally. People get off of unemployment rate if it's possible. They put food on their table. Police taxes are paid. Police have jobs. Teachers have jobs. So that's my definition of sustainability. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's great. It really seems like the biggest part of your company is bringing the functionality to these communities instead of telling them to move elsewhere.
That's right. I would agree, my brother. I would agree.
Still up, and it's 17 hours later.
Hi, I'm Zain, and I am currently a senior studying management. So I wanted to ask you, I saw you have a long list of awards and recognition. So I just wanted to ask, at what point in your career did you realize you were an influential individual in your business or in your community?
When I started paying for every bill in my home, when my father was completely disabled and I was 21 years old, and I was bringing home every quarter that I made in the retail store, paying my mother and father's bills, making sure my brothers all had what they needed, then I believed I was an influencer. I was an influencer in my family. You don't have to be an influencer in the community. Sometimes it starts in the home. It starts the way you treat your siblings. It starts the way you treat your parents. It starts the way you treat your children, right? Or the other significant other person in your life. An influencer is a person that makes a mark on your heart, right? And I always tell people, you want to be a successful salesperson, you want to be a successful businessman or businesswoman, I want to make you fall in love with me. And how do I do that? By carving my name in your heart. And if I can do that, then you're going to follow me. You're going to follow me through thick and thin. You're going to follow me through, over the highest mountain and the lowest valley. So what is an influencer? An influencer is somebody that I believe in because I'm willing to show people that I'll step out, I'll do what it takes. So early on, I became an influencer, I guess, by doing the right thing with my family, realizing how important it was, and realizing the change I could create. As a result of it, I brought that over to my business. As a result of that, I brought that to my employees. And when your employees see that you're willing to give as much as they're willing to give, they'll follow you.
How's it going, Sal? I'm Ben. I'm a junior professional sales major. We talked a lot tonight about the importance of relationship and like yourself and your business. How is your dedication to locals and the community around you help with return business and just everything going forward in your multifaceted assets?
Not too different than you, right? You started in, you wanted to get to the next level. You started in the entertainment business, I think, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I was fascinated by your bio of how, you started at a very young age. You were in high school when you were kind of conducting yourself in the entertainment world. So you were very local, weren't you?
Yeah.
You were around all your friends. You were around all the people that believed in you. So as you started to create these opportunities, you were around people that already trusted you. And once they trusted you, it became an easier sell for you. Of course I'm going to Ben. He's my boy. Of course he's going to do the right thing. I know Ben for a long time. That's the same thing when you go into these underprivileged communities. First you have to do is get their trust. Whenever you do anything in life, if you're going to become an entrepreneur and you're going to go into the retail business or you're going to go into any business, Zev talked about it a lot. I have to convince you that I'm your guy or I'm your gal when I go into a business deal. I am looking out for you. I understand your problems, Ben. I'm going to show you the solution to your problem. In the process of solving your problems, I will make a sale or I will better my company. And profit is not a dirty word. Sometimes people look and they say, oh, you're only in this for the profit. If I go into it and looking through your lens and looking to see what can make your life better, Ben, and in the process, I can create an opportunity for my organization, then I made a good sale. I made a good deal. But the first thing I have to do is make you feel good about what I'm trying to do. Make you feel that I'm in it for all the right reasons. And that starts with trust. And that starts with being local. Remember, think big, think global, act local. Think global, act local. Don't be afraid to roll up your sleeves and become part of the fabric of that community. They'll trust you like they trust me, I hope. And I still work hard every single day for their trust in every community that I'm in. And that means not abandoning that community. That means, creating opportunities. So that's what we do, Ben. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, thank you.
I think I have time for one more, Professor.
You got it. Let's.
You're presenting. What are some of the ways, like, I guess, like, you kind of like sell your idea to the community and like you kind of negotiate around these concerns?
That's a great question. I'm sure when your dad, you were in the floor business, right? Your dad was in the flooring business?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
You're the guy that wants to be in, I think, marine technology or something like that?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. So you're going to, but I'm going to tell you, just by being in, I'm sure your dad would know what it's like to pull permits and go in front of boards and build buildings and things like that. People love to level, and I hope you don't mind me saying this, Professor, because I'm an eternal optimist. Like with me, optimism is a way of life. Like, the glass isn't full, it's overflowing, So I just think there's nothing that my organization, my team isn't going to be able to accomplish. But you will run against people that for whatever reason, my brother, and I'm going to tell you, they just love to level, Brett. They see your success and they want to bring you down. I sat on a board, I donated my time from 2015 to 2018, and I sat on one of the toughest boards you can sit on. It's called school committee, and I'm sure you know what that is. And, you can sit on a variance board, you can sit on a planning board, you can be a selectman. Try sitting on a school committee board with mothers and fathers screaming at you all day long because you're not treating their son or daughter the way they should be. And when it gets personal like that, it gets very aggressive. And the only reason I say that is because people love to tear people down. You can't let that happen, brother. You just can't let those people that are trying to level you every single day, especially, Brett, when you become highly successful, because you will be successful and you will be that entrepreneur that you aspire to be, and you will create some kind of concept in marine technology. But when you get there, people are going to look to knock you off the pedestal a little bit. And I'm not being, pessimist. I'm just telling you the way it is. But you have to be prepared for that. You have to be prepared for every single day someone's going to take a shot at you. How are you going to react to it? And that's a good thing, because that'll keep you on your toes. I want you to be a little paranoid when you go to business, when you go to work every single day. Because if you're a little paranoid, if your competitor, you're a little paranoid that someone's trying to knock you off your perch a little bit, you'll be more attentive. You'll be on your toes all day long. You'll be looking behind you. You'll be looking in front, to the side, to the right. You'll be looking at the competition. You'll be studying your competition. What are they doing that I'm not doing? And when it comes to these crazy boards, you got to fight through it. You got to put that big smile on. You got to keep coming back every single time. If they tell you that, you got to cross the T 3 more times, you're going to cross it and come back again. And in the end, they're going to look at you and they're going to say, no matter what I say to this guy, he keeps coming back. He's not going to stop. I might as well just give him the permit. And when I first started, the greatest lesson in my life, this is the honest to God truth. The first piece of real estate I ever bought, the building inspector went to the board and he tried to have my building condemned. I had just pulled every quarter I had from the first store, poured it into the first piece of property I bought, and he wanted to condemn and tear my building down. Like, listen, I'm a big guy. I'm 6'1", I'm 270 pounds. I've been a big guy my whole life. I've been a captain of my football team. I'm an aggressive guy. I'm out there. This guy brought me to my knees almost. Like, I can remember the emotions I was filled with. But he taught me the greatest lesson in life. He taught me that I'm not going to stop until I beat him. And how do I beat him? Sometimes I killed him with kindness. And I come back, and I came back, and I came back. And every time I came back, it was yes, sir, no, sir. Every time I came back and he told me, he gave me an obstacle, and I jumped over and I said, this was my solution. How do I do this? I inundated him with questions. Teach me how to do this. How do I do this? Where do I go? Who can help me? And finally, I just wore them out. They just looked at me and they said, give this freaking kid the permit. And that's how you face those obstacles in life. And those obstacles don't necessarily have to be a board, right? They can be anything in your life. They can be challenges that you have in a relationship, a friendship, a partnership. It's up to you to work every single day at those little things to make you overcome those things. Think of everything and you have a great example. Think of all your obstacles in life as if you were going in front of a big board, and how would you address it? And whether it's, I told you, whether it's the relationship, the woman you marry, the friend that you have, whatever it is, what are you doing every day to make it better? Because if you rely upon that other board member, the person across the table, to make all the decisions, well, I'll tell you what, my friend, they're going to make the decisions what's best for them, as opposed to what's best for you. How's that sound?
That was awesome. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.